We face a growing climate emergency. We also face a biodiversity emergency. We scientists need to be actually out there trying to change things rather than studying the loss and the decline of these oceans that once supported us.
Seagrass has been providing a marine habitat for species since dinosaurs walked the earth. It's the only flowering plant that grows in the sea, and despite being underwater, it can capture carbon 35 times faster than rainforest. These fish nurseries are vitally important for marine biodiversity and are relied on by 20% of the world's biggest fisheries, providing much of the fish we eat. But in the last century, seagrass has seen a massive decline worldwide for a number of reasons, things like pollution, fishing, coastal development and runoff. So, we've come to Dale, here in very sunny Western Wales, to catch up with a team who are pioneering the UK's largest seagrass restoration project. Project Seagrass is a £400,000 restoration project led by a team of scientists from Swansea University, backed by the WWF and Sky Ocean Rescue. Today is the culmination of 8 years of lab research and sea trials to pioneer a new seagrass planting technique on a pilot plot in the Irish Sea. So we've just arrived in Dale Fort, which is the spot on the southern tip of Western Wales on the coast where the project for the seagrass restoration replanting has sort of used this building as their home base. Richard Unsworth is a marine biologist and seagrass expert who is leading the restoration project and engaging local communities. Hello there, Rich.
Hi there.
How's it going?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How's the project going?
Well, today we've got young kids from the local primary school coming along to help us with our seagrass planting.
Yeah.
And this is part of the UK's first major restoration project that's ever been undertaken. Seagrasses have been decimated around the UK. We think that the UK has lost at least 90% of its seagrass. So it remains a scattered, fragmented habitat that used to be a very dominant part of the coast of the UK. Last summer, we went out to places all around the UK and we went collecting seeds.
And so what you can't do with them is just take a boat out and just tip them back into the sea. That's really not the programme here.
Well, that's what they've done in some places in the world,
okay.
And that's because they don't have as strong a tidal current as we do. So to overcome the problems of high tidal currents, of animals wanting to eat those seeds, we came up with the idea of using a pretty simplistic little bag, the sort of Hessian bag that your sort of Christmas soap gets packed in and
sure.
Gets a little bow on it.
Right.
To make sure they're nicely topped up with sand. That's roughly about 50 individual seeds, and then we'll put that straight into the Hessian bag. You'll get shoots kind of coming out of the sort of little holes. It's like a nice little stable kind of environment for the plant to grow in.
It's a bit like your typical greenhouse planting bag. In a way.
Absolutely, yeah. Just scaled down in a different material.
Yeah, they're very hardy, but they're actually biodegradable.
Yeah, absolutely. In a sort of 6 to 12 month period, they'll completely rot away.
Or get eaten.
Yeah. There will be crabs that'll tear at some of them, but mostly they last long enough for the seagrass to grow and develop, and within that. So these little bags, we then just attach them to long lines, and those lines are, again, Hessian rope, which uses natural fibre and biodegrades, and we spread them along the seabed. Come in, guys. What we're going to do today is the final bit of our restoration project. So do you think you can help us carefully, really carefully, put seagrass seeds into these bags? Yeah?
We've got to make sure it's a nice level scoop. Splat it in. What I need you guys to remember is these seeds are really, really precious. Does anyone remember a video where there was scuba divers going in and there was bubbles everywhere? Yeah?
So Eva, you're a full-time member of the team, Project Seagrass. Tell me about the process to collect and harvest the seeds.
Thankfully, collecting seagrass seeds is a summertime job. Scuba diving gear down onto a nice healthy seagrass meadow. Just a simple tear lower down on the plant. What we were really conscious of was making sure that we're ripping the plant rather than pulling at it, so that we didn't do any damage to the root systems or to the rhizomes.
Seagrass produces huge numbers of seeds, the majority of which are wasted. Evie and the other Project Seagrass divers intervened to collect the seeds before storms washed them away to be lost at sea.
There were so many seeds. You could sit for a 90-minute dive in pretty much the same spot and still just be picking seeds, picking seeds, picking seeds.
So that really interestingly begs the question, why is there so much seagrass decline? Because if there are healthy meadows that are abundantly producing masses of really healthy seeds, why are we seeing such decline, do you think?
Where we were seeing these really healthy meadows was always where humans were that bit more removed. So a huge thing is water quality. They're plants, they photosynthesize, they need light. So if you've got turbid water or lots of pollution or murk going into the water, then they're not going to be able to get that light through the water column to be able to grow and successfully reproduce. If we can get better water quality, then the seagrass and other ecosystems will naturally start to recover themselves.
Over the summer months, 750,000 seeds were collected by dive, snorkel and intertidal walking teams from all around the UK and then transported back to the labs at Swansea University to be processed.
And then we allowed them to naturally degrade, which is what happens in the wild. And generally the viable seeds that are more likely to germinate and be successful would sink to the bottom.
The seeds are washed and then artificially vernalised, meaning they're kept at near freezing temperatures to mimic the winter season. When ready to plant, they're brought back to ambient temperature, allowing them to germinate.
Maybe put a tiny bit of sand on top of there. Go on. Yeah, go on a bit more. Hang on. Go on. You can do it. Yeah, excellent. Well done, mate.
How's it going, Rich?
Good. Like we've not done this particular exercise ever before with kids because I was a bit nervous. Like all the seeds, are the seeds going to just end up on the floor?
I know. Well, the seeds are really your precious commodity here, aren't they?
It's working excellent. Like,
okay, good.
I'm really pleased.
How did you test whether or not this process works?
So in West Wales, we've done a whole series of experiments over the last 5 years. First, we were using hessian bags versus coir matting, so coconut fibre matting.
Right.
And then we started working with large hessian bags, and then we scaled down.
Right.
We used local sand, we used building sand, we used kids' play sand. We've varied the amount of seeds that you put into a bag. Any less than 50, you tend to get fewer plants coming out. But if you put 500 or 100 seeds in there, it makes no odds. You still get about 5 to 10 mature plants coming out of it. And by having these bags set on lines and anchoring them to the seabed, then those seeds aren't washed out to the sea.
At the moment, we're just cleaning up a bit. I mean, this room was chock-a-block at the beginning of the project, and each box has gone outside now to be packed.
And you mentioned earlier that some of the lines are tagged.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of lines. Because we've got seagrass from all sorts of different areas, we actually collected some seagrass seeds from North Wales, from the Llŷn Peninsula, and also from the south coast of England. Okay. We've got potentially a little bit of genetic diversity in those seagrass seeds.
Nice.
So when we're planting them in the 2-hectare area, what we're trying to do is mark a couple of the lines that we're particularly interested in because of the seeds that are in those bags. So when we go down later, in a couple of months' time, and dive these sites to see if the seagrass is actually flourishing, as we hope it will be, we want to know which of those lines has the seeds from a specific site. So we use a couple of subsurface marker buoys just to make sure we know which one's which.
And tell me why it's important to have different seeds being planted in the same area here in Dale.
So if you have sort of a meadow of clones, if you like, with a very similar genetic makeup, then if you were to have a disease or some sort of infection outbreak, then there's not much resilience in that meadow to actually fight against that or prevent the whole lot from being lost. Sure. So if we actually increase a bit of the genetic diversity in the meadow, then we might be increasing that resilience to potential threats.
Project Seagrass believe this type of community involvement will be a crucial element in the ongoing awareness and success of the planting programme. The Dale Bay area is considered one of the best places in Europe for marine wildlife, with many of the qualities Richard and his team need in a pilot site.
As you can see, it's actually quite a sheltered environment. It's blowing a big gale from the west.
Windy today, yeah.
But at the same time, it's actually really flat. So it's quite shallow, it's soft sediment. Over to the right of the bay, we've done trials over the last 3 years. It's a wonderful place for seagrass to grow and develop. So these are all the lines that are now prepared, ready to go out to sea. An enormous human effort has gone into each and every one of those bags, ready to be laid on the seabed. That's 5,000 seeds that should germinate.
How are you feeling? Those are kind of like your
little babies.
Possessions, your babies. So this is a big day for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just me. It's a team, and everything that we've been able to do is because of a bigger team. It's just an amazing moment. It's really exciting to be actually planting these things that we've talked about and discussed and explained to so many people. Are you going to come and see what we've been up to?
I'd love to. I've got my waders on, so we should be okay getting a little bit wet.
In terms of getting these guys out to that boat, are they going to jump on there? Yeah?
So what do you recommend here, guys?
Leg over, grab hold of this with your left hand, just hoist yourself up.
Brilliant, thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Where do you want me to stand?
Anywhere you think you're comfortable.
Okay, great. The fact that 90% has been destroyed, this is very crucial timing.
Absolutely, and I think over the sort of last 20, 30 years, the British government has been pushed to clean up its act. We now have conditions that are once again suitable for seagrasses, but to expect them to recover on their own is unrealistic when there's only 10% of the population left.
So you've been doing this in all weather?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is the nicest day we've had so far, I'd say.
Oh wow, we got lucky then.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you feel comfortable, yeah, that's fine. You can take that and I'll give.
Can I give you a hand? Well done.
Heavy.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
So we're here at the moment, Joe. The boat is on the pontoon, but just over to the northwest, we have our gridded area. And as you might be able to see, there's a load of marks and lines all over here. We've been laying all of our seagrass lines.
And you're using these sandbags to anchor the ropes to the bottom?
Precisely, yeah. The line gets tied around that. That goes overboard, the line gets fed out, and then there's another one of our crew waiting at the other end to tie the line on and plop the other end over the side. And as I said, each time a bag goes in, I press a mark button on the chart. We keep a record there of where the lines have been set.
We have your colleagues offloading now the lengths of rope.
Yeah, 100-metre lengths of rope with the bags attached into the wind. This is why they have to be put into their bags really well.
Yeah, I know, I can see, I'm just watching, yeah, I know. And the speed too, because they're moving obviously, there's a certain cadence at which this has to happen, which I hadn't really thought of earlier. It's funny, you find yourself really gunning for every bag, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Tangle-free, you know, you're so gleeful watching this process happen. They're doing such a phenomenal job.
It's quite hard work doing it.
I was going to say, it's very physical actually.
Yes, that was the last thing, trying to get it taut and then the weight at the end. And then they can basically spread all those lines out throughout the bay, a metre apart. We have a licence to plant seagrass with them in a particular area.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole series of buoys spread out throughout the bay. And we need to basically ensure that where we're laying it is within those areas. So it's using the GPS and it's using our marker buoys to do that.
So is this really to kind of trial what the best practice is for reforestation in terms of seagrass?
It's basically trying to provide a demonstration of the fact that you can restore these habitats. We're trying to provide a beacon of hope, really. We know we can do it. It's all kind of coming together to make real fundamental change to the status of our marine environment.
It's obvious to see that you and your team are fully invested in this incredible project. Why is the project important?
We face a growing climate emergency, and we have to make important and rapid steps as a planet to fight that emergency. Seagrasses store vast amounts of carbon in their sediments, and they do that very, very rapidly. It's where it can stay and remain locked away for millennia. We also face a biodiversity emergency where all populations of all major animals and plants on this planet are in decline.
In 6 months' time, it's hoped that the first seagrass shoots from this pilot project will emerge, forming the beginning of a seagrass meadow that will provide a crucial habitat for marine wildlife.
So we've got a 2 hectare patch here, which is pretty large, larger than the smaller scale projects we've done in the past to trial this method. And if this is a success, which we really hope, then we're going to scale this up, and we plan to scale this up across Wales and potentially into other areas in the UK as well in future.
Seagrass covers only about 0.1% of our ocean floors, yet it's responsible for about 11 to 12% of our blue carbon, which is an immense amount if you think how big our oceans are.
I think as a marine scientist, just studying the degradation of our oceans is not good enough. We scientists need to be actually out there trying to change things rather than studying the loss and the decline of these oceans that once supported us.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe by hitting the bell button below to watch more amazing science and tech stories from Razor.